All right, friends, let's go ahead and get started on classifying conics part 1. Okay, so curves that are formed by the intersection of a plane slicing through a double napped cone are called conic sections, or conics for short, and there's 4 of them. There's the parabola, the circle, the ellipse, and the hyperbola. Okay, and as you can see, okay, so here's what you would get when you slice kind of through the cone, but like at an angle there. And then you've got, if you slice all the way through, okay, that's your circle. If you slice all the way through, but kind of like at an angle, there you go, that's your ellipse. And then if you slice all the way straight down on a double napped cone like that, you get what kind of looks like 2 parabolas, but it's actually what we call a hyperbola. Kind of looks like the seams on a baseball or something. Okay, so today we're going to lock in this lesson, we're locking in on parabolas and circles. Okay, so first, for parabolas, how you can tell just by looking at the equation what the shape is if it's a parabola, it has either an x squared or a y squared, but it doesn't have both, okay? And then also, if it's the y that is not squared and it's the x that is, that's an up or downwards opening parabola, depending on the sign of the coefficient. And if it's the x that is not squared and the y is squared, that's a sideways opening parabola. It either opens left or right, depending on if there's a negative out in front of the square. Okay, and so here's just kind of what they generally look like. You can take that down at your leisure. Let's talk about circles, okay? So for circles, it's an equation where you have both an x squared and a y squared, and when they're on the same side of the equal sign together, they have the same coefficients out in front, same sign. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples. So maybe pause it, let's take a look at these, okay, and let's go through one by one. Number 1, I see an x squared and I see a y squared. Okay, they're both positive. They both have a 1 out in front as their coefficients. That's a circle. Okay, second one, same thing. Third one, let's see. There's an x squared and a y squared, but the coefficients out in front is a 1/9 and a 1/16. That makes them a little bit different. That's going to be something else. Okay, we'll talk about it in the next lesson. Next one, you have an x and a y squared. There's not an x squared and a y squared. That's going to be your parabola. Okay, next one, you have an x and then you have a y that's squared. That's another parabola. Okay, next one, you've got an x squared and a y squared, but they're different signs. The y squared is positive and the x squared is negative. That's something else. Okay, next one, you got a y and then you have an x that's squared. That's going to be a parabola. And then last one, you have an x squared and a y squared, but the y squared has a 1/25 out in front. That's going to make it something else. All right, so let's give these a try. Is it a circle, parabola, or something else? Go ahead and pause it, see if you can get it. First one, circle. Second one, a y squared, but not an x squared. That's a parabola. And the last one, their signs are different. There is an x squared and a y squared, but the signs are different. That's something else. All right. Whoops. So let's see if you can write an example of a parabola equation and a circle equation. Go ahead and give it a shot. Maybe show it to a friend. And good luck. Let's get to the practice.